Oh, the sweet smell of Crain and Company studio air.
You missed it, didn't you?
I did. We had an incredible time. So we're going to get into a little bit in best and worst.
It was great. It was great, wasn't it?
Me, but y'all did an unbelievable job holding it down. The whole team here did. Again, it's a team effort here, and really enjoyed. Got to listen a little bit. We were listening, had it on. Everybody on our tour in Champagne, France, was listening to it.
Okay.
Listen to the Tim Tebow slander about wreck the car.
Really good.
Which we're gonna get into that. But the wedding,
but true.
The wedding. Get into that. The wedding was unbelievable. Me and Reed do want to thank everybody. The Booster Club, whether it's on social media, whatever, through email. It was just an amazing time and had a great best man.
Thank you.
Flaming Dragon. Great
fun.
best man number 2, groomsman.
I want to just pause. Like
Great time, no drama.
Yeah, can we get a pic
like
there
those?
of that?
Yeah, we need a picture of us doing that like Anchorman, like with the suits.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking maybe
Something like that.
something like that in the works.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think like the way me and David traveled that week, doing the show, off to France, then back.
I will
You
say,
didn't
I
even
do got to
spot
tell a
us.
story
You didn't
about when I
spot
was
us.
in Bayou. I thought for a second.
LaBattery?
I thought for a second I spotted Blaine.
Dang,
I'm going to get
we
into
messed
that.
up.
thought.
I'm going to get into that, as
thought.
we get into the show. Booster Club, go and get it popping. Obviously, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, whether that's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Keep checking us out. We really appreciate it. Love the way the show is growing. But the Miami Heat take Game 7 from the Boston Celtics in Boston to advance to the finals to play the Nuggets. The Las Vegas Golden Knights demolished the Stars to move on to the Stanley Cup Finals to face the Panthers. And former NFL and Florida State quarterback Danny Kanell is going to drop by to talk some college football. And I see he's been tweeting about the SEC and softball. We're going to get into that. It's the Tuesday edition of Crain and Company, and I'm back. Now, a lot of the sports media talking heads today will be espousing about the Celtics' faults, their turnovers, and the Stars struggling in Game 7 last night. But make no mistake, the Miami Heat won this series. Boston did not lose it. Jimmy Butler once again showed you how special he can be. And in a league that is defined and promoted by individuals, the Heat are advancing because they play team basketball. Their front office trusts their own evaluations, and that's why you can have 7 undrafted players average 56 points a game in the conference finals. Now, whether it was Martin, Robinson, Strus, or their actual stars out of Adebayo and Butler, the Heat sends wave after wave at you, and these guys play with a cool head and a chip on their shoulder. Now, they could have folded the tents after getting their guts ripped out with 0.1 seconds left on the clock in Game 6 at home, but they didn't. And Miami head coach Erik Spoelstra once again shows you why he is one of the best head coaches, not only in the NBA, but in professional sports. Now, that's not because of his schematic prowess alone. We know he's a witch with a clipboard, but he motivates guys and can get the best out of each of them. He can handle huge egos like LeBron, Bosh, Wade, and the Big Three. He can win with guys nobody else wanted. And there are very few coaches in the world that can do that. Now, the Celtics should catch some heat because of the way this series went down. I do agree with that somewhat. And at the end of the day, that's really the only heat they could actually catch. And I want to leave you with this quote from Jimmy Butler. I don't call them role players. I call them teammates because your role can change any given day. It's a lot different than what we heard from guys like Joel Embiid in their press conference at the end. That's what a leader looks like. I'm going to go and bring in my co-host, co-pilot, and good friend, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, looking lovely on a Tuesday. And my brother, rocking the beard, looking very smooth, very professional.
It's growing weirdly fast. I don't get it.
It is. Well, us Cranes, we're like Wookiees. It's amazing. Or that one
It's
thing
only
from
been like the
Adam's
last
family.
3 years of my life this is happening, but great.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Maybe Nugenics, but we'll get into that later. David, I want to start with you. A great series, went 7. The Celtics had a chance to do something nobody has ever done in the NBA before, come back from a 3-0 series deficit and win it. And they're the only team ever to have that Game 7 at home to be able to win it. And again, as I stated, people will talk about, Jason Tatum, and I know he rolled his ankle, but everybody's hurt. I didn't hear the Heat complaining about Tyler Hero. I didn't hear Jimmy Butler complaining when he's rolled his ankle 18 times in the past 2 series. But the Heat deserve to be in this spot. And when you look at the numbers they put up during the season, like 30th in points, like 27th in rebounding? They were the 5th most injured team during the season. It seems like, and I hate to use this term, but it's true, they just wanted it more.
Yeah, no, they did. And I'm glad the Boston Celtics made this a series. Mostly, I like Joe Mazzulla, so I think not getting swept gave him some job security. But 150 teams in the NBA have now tried to come back from down 3-0, and 150 have failed. I didn't expect Game 7 of this series to turn into the Caleb Martin versus Derek White show, which is really what it came down to. I think Caleb Martin led the Heat in minutes played, but still. Jimmy Butler, even though not one of those, quintessential 45 or 50-point games, still led the Heat in points. So I'll tell you what I like about this Miami Heat team the most is, like you said, they play team basketball. They know who their superstar is. They're well coached. I love the quote from Jimmy Butler about we don't have role players. Can you imagine like LeBron James saying something like that? They're not out there trying to posterize you with dunk or cross your ankles up. They just play fundamental basketball. And now they're about to go play a Denver Nuggets team who is very similar, right? Each has one superstar. These aren't teams that have been, put these big 3 and big 4 together. I think it's going to break the mold of what a championship NBA team can be, and showing these guys, hey, we can be diva free. We don't have to assemble the greatest superstars in the world. You look at around the league at all the guys who aren't going to be in the finals this upcoming week. So I'm glad it ended up being a great series. Boston was heavily favored there in Game 7, but I'm glad I took the Heat.
Yeah, and look, Boston's a great sports town, one of the best in the country. You could argue it's the best, but they've become the first city to lose to an 8 seed as a 1 seed in basketball and in hockey. Both of those losses came against the city of Miami. Now, Blaine, when you look at this Heat-Nuggets matchup, I know we've been high on the Nuggets. What Jokic has done, I think David brings up a great point. They play, yes, Jokic can drop 50. Yes, Jimmy Butler can drop 50. But it's their passing and getting their teammates involved and being able to win in multiple ways. But when you look at the Celtics right now, I want you to go into the mind of a Celtics fan. Can you trust Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown now that once again you've seen, and more Tatum than Brown, in a conference finals? I'm not talking about the first series of the playoffs. Legends are made in the conference finals and the NBA finals. At what point do you have to really start questioning whether these guys can come through in the clutch when it matters together?
Well, they haven't shown up in the biggest moments. We go back to the Game 7 with the Celtics when they turned the ball over 40 times against the Warriors. The thing about me is I think they're good enough. I think they just need to get a little bit better around them. I really do. I think Al Horford's probably done. I don't think Williams is your other answer at big. But if I'm a Celtics fan, is it disappointing? For sure. For sure it is. But, I'm not surprised. If anything, you're lucky to take this to Game 7. You're down 3-0. You're lucky you didn't get swept. So it says a lot about their head coach. But I do think they need more pieces. I really do. And if we look at the Nuggets, to me, I think the Nuggets are about to kill the Heat. I think it's going to be maybe go 6 because I think they're a lot better basketball team. You have Jokic. If anything, you have 2 superstars in Jokic and Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray's averaged almost 30 points in that last series. I don't think it'll be close. I think this is a great win for the Heat and what they've done, especially without Tyler Hero, who will be back.
Game 3, I think, is what they're aiming for.
Yeah, he will be back for this next series, but I just think the Nuggets are a lot better basketball team. I think if you go look through the Nuggets, who they have to go through, including the Suns, including the Lakers, I think it will show in the finals how much better they are. Jimmy Butler is not going to be able to do it by himself. And I'm a huge Eric Spoelstra fan. He's one of the best ever to do it. If you really go through, I think he's top 5, maybe top 7, and amount of finals been to. I think this is his 7th or 6th one. So Spoelstra could do it, that's for sure. But I do think the Nuggets are going to be a lot better basketball team. I don't think this series is going 6.
Well, I think the concern if you're the Heat is you look at the way the Celtics shot, really the whole series from 3. Game 6, I think, was Boston's worst 3-point shooting game of the year. Game 7, their second worst. You can't play zone against the Nuggets and hope they don't shoot well, because they will destroy you from the perimeter, Jokic included, Jamal Murray. We can go down the list. But there's a couple stats that really just jumped out to me when we talk about team ball. And before we even get to that, do you guys realize that Kevin Love, every time he's made the NBA playoffs, has gone to the NBA Finals?
Wow.
That is an insane stat.
He didn't even play yesterday.
Yeah, no. They didn't need him. I mean, it's, again, they were in such a groove. And I'm sitting here looking at Tyler Hero. It's like, yeah, Tyler Hero's back. You want him back. But the way you're playing right now, do you really want to kind of mess with the flow? We'll see there. But when you look at plus minus, which means how many points are you were either up or down, or how much you accumulated or lost while certain players were in. You go through the Heat. Gabe Vincent was the only one in minus. He was -2. Jimmy Butler, plus 11. Martin, plus 14. Adebayo, plus 22. Strus, plus 4. Duncan Robinson, plus 17. Hell, Highsmith, you were plus 3. And the one that shocked me, Kyle Lowry, when he was in the game, the Heat were plus 26.
Really?
It is just, when you really dive into the numbers, and again, we talk about stats are like a preview or a trailer of a movie. They tell you a little bit what it's about, but they don't tell you the whole story. That tells you a lot. It was just, it's so good for the NBA to have team basketball, and I think it makes it much more enjoyable. Reminds me a little bit more of college basketball, which is one of my first loves. I think we can all agree on that. But I'm not going to write off the Heat this early, guys. I'm just not going to do it. Do I think the Nuggets are the better team? Yes. Do I think the Heat can play zone against the Nuggets and get away with it the way they did against the Celtics and only give up 84 points? No, I don't. Because Jokic, to me, is the best player in the NBA still, even with what Jimmy Butler's doing. But I'm not going to write him off yet. I'm interested to see the spread of that first game because, again, if you look, what is it at right now?
8.5.
8.5. If you looked at the Heat's attitude after they won that, it wasn't super celebratory. It wasn't guys running around like they just won the NBA Finals. They realized that the mission is not done yet, and that's dangerous, but so are the Nuggets, man. Jokic is an absolute freak.
Well, there's bad blood between these two teams. I don't know if y'all remember, but Jokic pushing Markieff Morris in the back and Jimmy Butler telling Jokic to meet his ass after the game. In the locker room, the entire Heat roster were waiting outside the Nuggets locker room. There's some bad blood in this game.
I love that.
And it'll last early. It'll last early for sure. But then you realize, wow, Michael Porter Jr. is 6'6", and Aaron Gordon's 6'7", and there's Jokic and Jamal Murray. So we'll see how long that. I'm not looking. I know you're not writing them off, but please, someone give me a pen and a piece of paper. I'll write these guys.
Well, I'm more worried about Jokic's brothers than I am the other guys with the Heat. They're as big as Jokic, and they know John Witt.
How about the Heat already purchased their flights to Denver before Game 7 with Boston, not back to Miami. That's how you knew.
Jokic's brothers looked like they knew that he was really good at a young age. And they knew, like, look, we got to protect this guy.
Yeah, that's exactly
He's making it out.
Well, if you look at that picture of Jokic when he's a fat kid, it's so funny. It was going around. Apparently, in Denver, I was on a flight back home yesterday with a Celtics fan, poor guy. This was before the game. He said that he lives in Denver. So he said there's a gas station right by his house that somebody put a pop-up shop and was selling the pictures of Jokic as like a fat 12-year-old. And they were just selling them out. So I think it's hilarious. I think it's an absolutely great story. But I'll be interested to see the scouting report that the Heat have for the Nuggets and how they play them. But if you're buying a new car, you need the best scouting report possible, because we know that buying a new car can be one of the biggest purchases you make. It can be a stressful experience for anyone, especially if you're a first-time buyer or have no credit. But before you walk into a dealership, and you spend the entire day with crowds and Jackie Schaefer and all these other guys, you need to check out our friends over at Carzing, Carzing. They're completely changing the way you buy a car online. They partner with credit agencies, lenders, and over 25,000 dealers nationwide, and they give you everything you need before stepping foot into a dealership. So once you find the right car at your ideal budget, all you have to do is bring in your Save Deal voucher with you to the dealership to finalize your next ride. It's the best scouting report in the car game. You will feel prepared, you will be jacked, and you will be tan. They help make the experience faster, cheaper, and less stressful. Dave, we talk about this a lot. Car's a big purchase.
It is.
Better Eric Spoelstra your way into the dealership.
No, I love that. It's other than a house, really, it's one of the biggest purchases you're going to make in your life. And there's not a lot of practice for it. Like, unless you go buy a car.
Unless you're a
practice buying a car.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to deal with Matilda's father before I know, I'm checking out what's going on. And Blaine, you bought a Lamborghini. I mean, you had to look into that.
Yeah, getting a Lamborghini is not that easy unless you have Carzing.
That's exactly.
And the thing about Carzing was cool. Even if you don't want a car, you're window shopping, baby. That's what it is. Hop on in there. They got all your personal preferences. You can find the exact match you want. You got to buy it right now. Hey, we'll tag it for later.
All right, so you need to go to carzing.com/booster. That's carzing.com/booster. BOOSTER. I'm assuming that everybody can read at that level and know how to spell booster, but I'll spell it for you anyway. That's carzing.com/booster. Be prepared for the ride of your life. All right, let's get to the Booster Club.
All right, let's go to Jimbo Eagle, a $5 donation. Appreciate it, Jimbo. Question for Blaine. That's me, except on Fridays, a.k.a. Mo Math, Mo Push-Ups. Does this year's Heat-Nuggets matchup goes down as the biggest mismatch in NBA Finals history? That's a great question. I'm trying to think.
Cavs Spurs,
Probably
maybe?
the last one was Cavs Warriors, no Kyrie. I would think that's probably the biggest. What was that, 2018, 2017? This is look, I'm a Heat guy. We'll see. I just think the Nuggets are going to be too much for him. Cole Frink, take a wild guess at what this is.
Come on, Cole.
In the words of Jimbo Eagle, the flop James is mid. Hashtag I stand with Cole Frink. Welcome back. Welcome back, Jake. P.S. MJ is the GOAT.
P.S. I love you.
Okay, let's go to Jimmy the Quarter. Change that badge, Jimmy. Come home. Hey, everyone, has Jake shown off that new bling yet? Need a close-up on that thong.
Oh, yeah. What do me and Sour Altoids have in common?
You're both off the market. Wow.
I made that joke before the show. It's the first time I ever used it. I thought about it the way over here, so you know, celebrate it. No, yeah, it feels good, man. Matches the watch, too. I don't know. The kid's feeling fresh to death.
Bacon Eater. Jake, how dare you take replacement cone seat? I guess he's letting you use it for now that you're back.
Yeah, I was really happy with how he performed.
Were you?
Yeah, I was grading everybody. I went back and watched the tape, graded him. I thought having the sign, don't say it on Flaming Dragon Friday. By the way, congrats.
Thank you.
On the under, it was a solo mission. You went Bruce Willis and Armageddon, pushed me in the thing, go back to Earth, marry my daughter. Really appreciate that.
Heck of an ending.
Nothing like Armageddon. All right, let's go to Don Lee.
If you hadn't seen it by now.
All right, let's go to Don Lee. Miami versus the Nuggets, the battle of the two luckiest teams in the finals.
See, I don't...
Luckiest?
Lucky, when you play a 7-game series, and I'll sit here and make the argument that I think it's obviously a lot harder to go through the NCAA tournament than it is to win a 7-game series. But I feel like the luck kind of pans out, like over a certain amount of games. I don't think you can blame it on luck. Look, I understand if people are sour. I mean, I had people yesterday, guy I really enjoy going back and forth with, big fan of the show on Twitter. I said a month ago, whatever, time just stopped after I left last week. I would rather have Jalen Brunson in the clutch than Jason Tatum. And then Jason Tatum had like that record game 7 in like the first round of the NBA playoffs. And people were like, oh. Well, then now what happens? It's the same old story at the end. It's just like Hansel and Gretel.
So in the clutch or overall?
I'm talking, no. If we're talking like overall, talent-wise, Jason Tatum has more tools than Jalen Brunson. And he's bigger. I'm not arguing that. Yeah. But in Game 7, if you're going to give me Jalen Brunson or Jason Tatum and say who will perform better, give me Jalen Brunson. I think if you put Jalen Brunson on the Celtics, it may be a little bit of a different story than we've seen in Game 7. And it wasn't just Jason Tatum last night, and I know he rolled his ankle. Jaylen Brown couldn't dribble in the second half of that game. But at the end of the day, Jason Tatum is your superstar. You close your eyes and you think of the Celtics. I'm not talking about Larry Bird or back in the day, modern day Celtics. Who is the first name that pops up? It's Jason Tatum. That's your dog. That's your moneymaker. That's the guy that you have to say, lean on me.
And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that he rolled his ankle on the very first play of the game, but he still played 42 minutes and he still had a double-double.
Yeah.
And they lost by 19.
Well, yeah, but what, he had 14?
He had 14 and 11.
Yeah, I mean, look, in the words of Jake, if I want to talk to excuses, I'll talk to prisoners.
Yeah.
I'm saying everyone's hurt. Everybody's hurt.
The Heat were the 5th most hurt team in the league.
Everybody's hurt.
The whole year. So they're not crying.
If you're going to be that guy, you got to be that guy.
That's exactly right.
Let's go to Ryan Gay, $10 donation. My favorite sports moment, May 1st, 2011. I was up late listening to Phil's Mets on the radio. The whole stadium Brantley started chanting, USA, USA. That's when Bin Laden got announced.
Oh, that was 2011.
Yeah, that was an incredible moment. They did. I saw a little short on that. Like, people didn't care whatever team you were rooting for. Like, it didn't matter at that point. It's just I'm gonna get in that, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about the trip here, going to Normandy and seeing all that stuff. I've never been more proud to be an American than I was this past week. It's I really feel like everybody should go see it, especially with the way our society is now, the way men are now. It's amazing how far we've fallen since the greatest generation, and they are. If you've ever been there and seen that, you really can understand why.
All right, let's go to Kyle Freak, $2 donation.
Kyle and Cole.
Kyle?
Yeah, no, I'm saying Kyle and Cole. I love the back and forth.
$2 donation and 1 cent. I love how you want to be different there. Hey, who's that one dude on the Blaine and Cone show? He looks like a real plane wreck. The Heat do top Denver. Will the story be more of a condemnation of Jokic or Miami was the team of destiny?
I don't want to say team of destiny. Team. I think the key word is team. They're winning it as a team. That's what they do. I mean, look, Jimmy Butler's their best player. Nobody's arguing that. But and it's the way they're doing it. I mean, Caleb Martin didn't just have 26 points. He had 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal with only 1 turnover. Bam Adebayo had 10 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, you Kyle Lowry, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Yeah, he scored 7 points, but it is a team game. I mean, even Duncan Robinson, you get a block, 2 steals, an assist, and a rebound from Duncan, who's your 3-point shooter. I think it'll be more of a condemnation on the individual as opposed to the team. But look, if you're counting on Jokic not to show up in the finals, there's some beachfront property in Kansas I can sell you for a price that'll blow your mind.
Yeah, and it's like at this point, Miami went through the number 1 seed in the Bucks with Giannis. I mean, they've gone through New York. They've gone through Boston. On the other side, Denver has gone through the Suns. They went through the Lakers. They went through the Grizzlies. So the whole these are the 2 luckiest teams thing. You can't buy it when it's a series.
I don't think it's almost impossible to get to the finals and be lucky.
Especially in a series.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right, you want to get to the best and worst? We'll get back to the Booster Club here in a second.
Let's do it.
Go.
All right. I'm gonna go France edition, if that's okay.
All right, let's do it.
So mine's gonna be France. And I want to start with the best. Number 1, food. Okay? We have no idea what we're doing. We have absolutely no idea. Here's the first thing I noticed. Really no fat people. It's incredible. I got to the point where me and Reed were playing a game just trying to find anybody who was overweight. And that's for a couple reasons. One, they've been around a lot longer than us, and you haven't had cars forever, so you can walk everywhere. That's what people do. They walk. And the housing over there, in most of it's so packed in that people don't want to stay in their apartments. They're walking around. There's more cafes and restaurants than I've ever seen in my life. But the 2 main things that I think is why. Number 1, they don't add all these preservatives in their food and stuff like we do. And you can taste it. It's the freshness of it. It's in the butter. It's in the eggs. It's in the salad. It's in the cheese. It's in the wine. It's fresh and it tastes real. The fruits taste better. They smell better. The vegetables taste better. They don't snack. People aren't walking around eating Doritos or Nutter Butters or anything like that. And look, I love Doritos and Nutter Butters. I'll be the first one to hop up on there and tell you how much I love them. But they eat breakfast, they eat lunch, and they eat dinner. But the freshness of the food, and there's 2 things that they care about over there, all right? Food and fashion. Those are the 2 things. Everything else, they could care less. I can understand how they got beaten 6 weeks, okay, in World War II. Because again, that's all they seem to care about was food and fashion. My second best, the weather. No humidity. None at all.
Really?
You could walk. We walked 13 miles one day.
Were
and I
you
didn't
all over
sweat.
France, or were you
all
just
over? Paris, all the way up to Bayeux, Normandy, Champagne. Okay. We went everywhere.
And was the climate the same?
Is about. Okay. Yeah, we got very lucky with the weather. And it was. It's so hard to explain this if you hadn't experienced it. Now, look, during the winter there, they were telling us, especially when we were in Normandy, it's miserable. Absolutely miserable in the winter. It gets freezing cold. But when we were there, it was fantastic. No humidity.
What was your favorite? Will you look at David and tell him what your favorite dish was over there?
Well, my favorite dish was? Oh, oysters.
No, what's the other one? You showed me.
Okay. The way they do their ribs. Okay, it's different. Okay.
Said,
No, listen, I'm not saying anything about your ribs, David. I'm not comparing you to the French. They've been around God knows how long, a lot longer. It's just different. It's just, they weren't on a grill, and even though I love the grill, absolutely love the grill, but the ribs are fantastic. Raw oysters, though, I'm not talking about baked oysters, and I love our New Orleans people. It's great. The seafood's great. The raw oysters, not even close. I had some French guy who could speak 3 words of English over there, told me really how it was going down, set up like a tour of France with the oysters, like 3 from here, 3 from here, 3 from there, 3 from there. Absolutely just ridiculously good. But the glazed pork ribs with caramelized and pickled onions was just, I'm talking magnifique. Bonjour. It was great. All right, and then the third one, the history. All right, all of it. There's so much of it, like you can't understand it, and you could go over there for 6 months and not go through all of it. I'm walking down streets, and the guide's looking at buildings with cannonballs still stuck in them, like during the Revolution. You got cathedrals that are, I was just waiting to see Quasimodo start ringing a bell in the middle of the square, and we walked by Notre Dame. But all the way back to Versailles where we went, King Louis XIV, the Sun King, all gold, everything. Each room dedicated, one to Hercules, the history is nuts. But without a doubt, going to Normandy, going to Omaha Beach, Utah Beach, doing the World War II tour, seeing Pointe du Hoc, seeing what our boys went over there and did, going and seeing that cemetery with 4,400 American bodies and buried over there, and just shows you I've never been more proud to be an American and more disappointed in the men we have right now in the country and how it's going down. Not everybody, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. Compared to the greatest generation, you see what they did. You go to Omaha Beach and they explain to you how the guys in the first and second wave were taking fire from these guns that will blow your mind. Crossfire, where it was just a slaughter, but they knew it was going to be, and they showed up anyway because it was the right thing to do. You got to go see it in your lifetime. I can't explain it. It's almost disrespectful for me to try and explain it. And I got told, me and Reed did, that Parisians were rude and they didn't like Americans and the French didn't like Americans. Could not have been further from the truth in my experience.
Oh, that's great.
They were unbelievably cordial. And in Normandy, Americans are heroes. Heroes. There are cafes named after certain soldiers. There was a hair place called Hairborn. You know, off the airborne troops that landed there in St. Marglis. It's just, it was an unbelievable experience, especially that close to Memorial Day. And it was an honor to be there. And it just was something. You walked by the graves, and we're so divided now, but it didn't say, John so-and-so Republican, John so-and-so Democrat. It said the name Pennsylvania, Georgia, Texas, New York, all these other states. And it just goes to show you that America, when we are at our best, we are definitely the best. And it was an honor to be there among those guys who will, forever rest in glory and honor.
It's pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
It was an amazing
I'm pretty
experience.
jelly. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm pretty jelly. My best, I'm going to go Caleb Martin. Not only for this performance in Game 7, but you go look in Game 6, even that lost. But when it comes to teams like the Heat, or just teams slowly working their way deeper in the playoffs, we always talk about a guy. There's always that one guy who shows up for a team that no one expected. And then it showed up to a certain extent. But Caleb Martin is taking the role of Tyler Hero when he's been out. 20-plus points when it matters most. You go back and look at that Game 6 game. I mean, the kid was absolutely balling. He's a guy you can trust. He's going to be a guy you have to trust going into this finals matchup with the Nuggets. So good for Caleb Martin, where he came from, Nevada. I believe this is his third year.
Him and his twin brother were Musclemen. You remember Arkansas' coach now in Nevada. They made that
third
run.
Year. You really get looked at differently when you perform well late in series, especially in the playoffs. My second one's going to be Marcus Stroman from the Cubs. Ended up throwing a one-hitter against the Rays through 105 pitches, had over 8 Ks. His best outing of his career. Good for Marcus Stroman. I've always been a fan, and I did have the Rays minus 1.5 in that game.
Yeah.
So good for Marcus Stroman, and I've always been a huge fan of the kid.
Yeah, the thing about Caleb Martin, real quick, is that it seemed in Game 7 that he was the one who kept extending the lead for the Heat, especially in the fourth quarter. He'd come down and hit that huge three. They get it to 13, he'd come down, hit a three with a hand in his face to get it to 16. Then make a big play to get it to 19. So it wasn't just how many he scored, it was when he scored.
I'm going to take the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
I mean, 6-0.
Killing.
6-0. Now, the Knights have beaten the Winnipeg Jets 4-1. They've beaten the Edmonton Oilers 4-2. And now they've beaten the Dallas Stars 4-2, with a couple of those victories just being shellackings. Now, they're going to go face the Florida Panthers. And I know you're big on the Florida Panthers. I get it. I'm just saying, Vegas is still a 1 seed. And the Panthers were the wild card too, the last place team to get in. So I don't think this is going to be the blowout that maybe some people over there think it's going to be.
Look, I'll be surprised if the NHL series or the NBA series go to 6 games.
I was hearing a little bit yesterday, and I kind of like this comp, the head coach for the Stars, DeBoer, is the Doc Rivers of the NHL, which I don't think that's a bad comp. And now Doc, obviously, there's a new man there. Nick Nurse gets the job in Philly. Good diversity hire for them.
I agree.
So, Stanley Cup Finals, are you going to take the Panthers like your brother?
I just find it hilarious that it's I know we had Dallas versus Tampa, a couple years ago. I know the NHL's different than soccer. It's bigger in the United States. But I just find it unbelievably hilarious that it's Las Vegas versus Florida for the Stanley Cup. In ice hockey, where the only ice is what you put in your drink, okay? The only way this could be crazier is if it was like Florida or Dallas versus the Coyotes versus Arizona. It's like the only place where like the chairs melt outside. Part of me I still just find that absolutely hilarious. But you know what? Give me the Panthers. Give me the Panthers because I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring series. I think it's going to be physical, low down, grind it out, 2-1 games. I don't think you're going to get 6-2s or 5-4s. Give me the Panthers in 6.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
My second best, White Sox pitcher Liam Hendricks pitched his first inning since recovering from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Hendricks was diagnosed with cancer in December. He went public with the news in January. His goal was to come back without being placed on the 60-day injured list. He accomplished that goal. He said it was definitely emotional. It was humbling going out there and seeing the amount of people wearing my shirts, the amount of people having signs and flags, anything like that, the amount of people that were chanting when I came into the game. Both teams stood and clapped for Hendricks, as did the Memorial Day crowd there, and then the home plate umpire and Angels leadoff man that inning also gave Hendricks a moment to take it in before the inning.
You know, we always talk about sports as being, you know, kind of one of the last havens we have that's not so divisive, and why, you know, we all have our opinions, but we welcome everybody on the show, including people that don't share our same opinions about sports things, and even men and women's sports. But it's just amazing to see how people can come together and how sports can bring people together in times of adversity. And I think this is a great example of this. You mentioned, you know, when we killed bin Laden and the Phillies game, how everybody, you know, kind of came together, and it's bigger than sports. It was great to see Liam back. And I thought that was a really great moment as well. Worst? All right, I'm still going French edition. Sense of urgency. All right? I can tell you why America is only 300 years old and a superpower. We have more sense of urgency, like doing things. Outside of food and fashion, okay, those are the two things. Everybody else, driving, there's no rules, all right? There's no rules, which that was scary, but when it comes down to just the way the people are, like it's very like laissez-faire, may I say? It's nobody's in a hurry. You know, nobody's like, all right, getting up, grinding today, gonna get after it. It's just like, they just care more about like emotions and poems and stuff than it's just different. You can just tell by you could tell the Americans just the way they were walking around. Like by day 3 or day 4, you could tell. Some people will say that's a good thing. Some people will say that's a bad thing. But to me, I like our sense of urgency. I like our grind. I think we outgrind them. We're not perfect. There's a lot of things wrong with America, including our food. We got to fix that. I'm on a mission. Don't worry. I'm going to get into that. Operation Let's Fix It. The second thing, and I got to tell the story about Keith, okay, from Cincinnati, who, you know, if I had apostles, he'd be one of them. They don't sell smokeless tobacco over there. Did not know this, okay? I don't know, people, you think it's gross, whatever. Dip, chew, pouches, however you get down, all right? I like to indulge every now and then. So going over there, I thought, yeah, they'd sell it, right? It's France, right? It's farmers, right? Tobacco, they're going to grow it. No. I was getting words like forbidden, and people don't do that. So the first day we're there, we land, go to a gas station, they don't have it. Dude looked at me like I was crazy. Like I asked him for $1 million or the golden gun from 007. So we go to a riverboat cruise that night, sitting next to an American couple from Cincinnati. Guy named Keith strike up a conversation, fan of the Daily Wire. So we had that connection, talking there. He said, yeah, man, been to Europe before, brought a whole roll of pouches with me, but he didn't have them on the boat. That was my only chance. So it's like, all right, you know, we'll chalk it up to, you know, let's have a week of getting better, you know, try and see if we can go without it. Next day, we're on a 9-hour tour by the Arc de Triomphe that Napoleon started, all right? Walk down in the subway, here's somebody, hey, Jake, turn to my left. And who is it? Keith. In a city full of millions of people. It's old Keith from Cincinnati. Looks right at me, tosses a can of pouches, grab it out the air, and we just, slow motion, we just embraced. Like if you'd have thought, I knew the dude for like 2 hours. All right, you'd have thought we had just got home from war together the way we embraced. It was like one of those just yak to hay moments, you know? And so Keith, I know you're listening. Love you, dog. Appreciate you. You saved me. Last one, shower curtains. All right, too many dudes taking baths over there. Now listen, I love a good jacuzzi, all right? I like a bath every now and then. Nothing wrong with that. But we go to the hotel. Most of these places didn't have shower curtains. They just had a shower with a bathtub underneath it. What's going on? So, my plan to become a billionaire as fast as anybody ever has, open up a smokeless tobacco / shower curtain shop right in the middle of Paris. All right? We'll be billionaires instantly. But like you turn on the water and it goes everywhere. If you're in the shower. Like I was having to take showers, like the water was running out. Like they were rationing the water. Like I lived in California or something like that. But no, those were the worst. Not a lot of worst, but if I had to have that category, there it was. No smokeless tobacco, no shower curtains. Let's figure it out. Guys taking baths. That's how you lose world wars.
Who would have thought? My first worst is going to be everything Jake just said about America's not having good food. No damn Frenchman cooks better ribs than this guy right here, all right? And no damn oysters are better than what I ate at the beach, all right? No, those damn cowards over there don't make better food. If anything, not better than the South. Not better, Meat and Three. Let's see what Meat and Three's they
casserole?
got over there, huh?
Yeah,
that's my worst.
Okay, here's.
We need to watch this man for the next 6 months. It's a lot of Tom Hanks Bridge of Spies going on over there.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm not saying America's food is awful, but Kim, if you've ever been there, you would go there in the first 5 minutes, you'd be like, I understand. You would, and I'm sure you will one day. You know what I'm saying?
What do you
get off Neverland, when you get out of Neverland and go out and expand a little bit. Not saying that America has bad food. It's that the French don't have preservatives in their stuff. You can eat a bunch and not feel awful and feel bloated and feel like your stomach's about to explode. And I'm talking about, we're at one chateau where I've got 2 guys that didn't speak a lick of English that live in a farmhouse are out there making a buffet of vegetables they just got from the garden, eggs they just got from chickens, they still have that over there, but it was just fresh, man. I can't explain it other than that. And I'm not talking about baked oysters. I'm talking about raw oysters. Raw oysters from Normandy are just better, man. I'm sorry. Yeah. Look, I can sit here and lie to you if you want and say, oh yeah, I know it was terrible. The French food is terrible. But then you're going to go over there and eat it and be like, that guy Jake.
So you really think we weren't there, huh?
There was one
point. You just randomly met a guy.
No,
you think you just randomly met a guy named Keith from Cincinnati who threw you a log?
Yeah.
Hey, we're sitting over there. We were in disguise. Like, man, what can we do? Because we know Jake forgot his can. This guy's in disguise giving you bear hugs.
You want to know how it's real? You want to know how it's real? You want to know how it is?
Sure. How's it real?
You're welcome for the Grizzly Wintergreen pouches.
There you go.
Yeah.
Looked out for you.
What were they, Jake? What were they?
Keith's in the chat. He's in the chat, isn't he?
No, he's not. There's no one named Keith in here. Look at the camera.
That's exactly what somebody would say that didn't want me to know Keith was in the chat. Here's what I will say. In Bayou, there was a moment where we were walking to a cafe, all right, which, by the way, you don't tip over there. It's weird, all right?
That's not weird. Tipping's weird.
Well, it's just, I'm used to tipping. Like, it's just, again.
Like I'm already paying for the thing.
I get it.
Thank you for doing your job.
No, I'm not arguing the semantics of tipping. I'm just saying I wasn't used to it.
Yeah.
There was a moment in Bayou where we were walking, and I swear I looked to my left, and there's like little inlet rivers going through Bayou, and I'll be damned if there weren't gondolas right there.
Mm-hmm.
And for a second, there was a guy rowing a gondola with his back to me that was oddly shaped like Blaine.
And he got away.
I never saw his face.
Have you ever seen Inception? They had subtle little things.
Now imagine we were there and doing the show.
Right?
Trying to make sure you got back safely.
Okay, real quick. My second worst was Scottie Pippen. Ooh. I don't know if y'all saw the video of Scottie Pippen over the weekend talking about LeBron James and Michael Jordan. He basically said Michael Jordan was trash before he got there. Scottie Pippen, I think, is slowly coming off the hinges. Look, I'm all for the debate of Michael Jordan and LeBron James, but I refuse to sit here and say Michael Jordan is not one of the greatest ever to pick up and dribble a basketball. Scottie Pippen, I mean, let's be honest, you're above mid, a little bit above mid. I mean,
show me on the doll where MJ hurt
you were a good player. You'll never be Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's one of the greatest. And the last thing you need to worry about is Michael Jordan. Maybe in the future, turning on the lights. So.
Yeah, I don't think anybody agrees with Scottie Pippen on that.
What did he say again?
He was saying Michael Jordan didn't do anything, was terrible before
I got there?
Yeah.
Like, what has to be going through your mind if you're Scottie Pippen to be like, all right, I'm going to take
Not relevant.
I think
I'm going to take this thought public.
Not relevant. Not
slowly
relevant.
falling off the hinges.
You're one of two things. Either you're absolutely losing your mind, I'm not going to get into the stuff about, what happened with Mrs. Pippen. I'm not going to get into that.
I'll get into it.
But I just think it's not relevant. Like, who would be talking about Scottie Pippen if Scottie Pippen didn't come out and say this? Nobody. Not me.
That is true.
Talk about Dennis Rodman. Hell, I'll talk about Tony Kukoc. Remember Tony? Oh, Tony K?
I remember Tony Kukoc.
Steve Kerr? I mean, again, I just think it's irrelevance.
All right, last one here. This is half best, half worst. The best side of it is Samantha Ponder. She was, she quote tweeted Riley Gaines, our friend Riley Gaines here, and she has a couple times the last few months, and basically said, I barely said anything publicly about the issue of men competing in women's sports, and yet I've had so many people message me, stop me in the street and say, thank you. Please tell the stories about the girls who are afraid to speak up. Good on Samantha Ponder. But of course, the USA Today has to respond to this with an article by Nancy Armour. She said, if ESPN's Sam Ponder was truly concerned about women's sports, she's had ample opportunity in the last year to call out the inequities that actually do exist. She hasn't. This isn't about fairness. It's about her bigotry. Because if there's one thing about Samantha Ponder that just stands out, she's just such a big. USA Today.
Look, this is why mainstream media is dying.
It's done.
You can't just keep lying to people like this and everybody believe it.
We're not believing it.
A certain segment of people who are just so locked into some narrative, or either they believe that or, they're part of this group. But it's just, you just got to laugh at it now. Just laugh at it. I mean, what's the best way to show something's a joke? Make fun of it.
Sure.
And that's what it is.
If everyone in the country is doing that, that'd be great. Like, we can laugh at this and this would be a fringe thing. This is the USA Today. So until they crumble completely, like I'm
Target?
Sorry. Yeah.
Maybe like Bud Light, you're starting
Target
to see
lost
it a little
$10
bit.
billion in 10
starting
days.
To see it, but look, just stop. Look, they're dying anyway. Let this die the death it deserves by laughing at it and just moving on as much as possible. But it's turning. You can feel it turning because people are tired of this. And this is another thing in France that I did notice. And I don't want to stick on this point too long. You know what I didn't see over there? People talking about, everybody's so oppressed. You know what they do? You know what they say? You're gay, be gay. Just be gay. You don't have to be some oppressed group where, oh no, it's a genocide, and start making up all this stuff. They just let people live their lives. That's what they do. It is what it is. Nobody hates anybody about it. Just let everybody live their lives. It's amazing. It was so refreshing. And who'd have thought? I would say that we're more, like that than the French. It's just the craziest thing to ever see. You never saw it once. I didn't see one. All they're rallying about is electric cars. That's it. Because in France, all that's on the TV, electric cars, perfume, and cologne commercials, and every movie is a Marvel movie. They love the Avengers over there and Fast and the Furious like I've never seen it before in my life. It was on every channel.
The watch you.
What? You need to stop, man. I'm just bringing up good points.
Hashtag, why you talk different you did before?
I'm not, because I've never been to France, all right? But you know what? I did notice over there a lot more people were in shape, all right? And if you want to get in shape over here and you feel like it's getting harder to stay in shape, our sponsor, Nugenix Total T, they're offering you a complimentary bottle when you text 231-231 and enter keyword Crain. Just take out your phone computer machine and type in 231-231 and text the keyword Crain, C-R-A-I-N. It's not spelled like the bird, even though I'm super fly. Because as we age, our body loses free testosterone, energy drops, libido falls. Let's be honest, fellas. All right, it's time to look. Everybody hold hands. Mom, Oreo smoothie now. But with Nugenix Total T Testosterone Booster, they help you turn back the clock and re-energize your workouts. They contain key man-boosting ingredients like testofen, which has been validated in 5 clinical studies and backed by years and years of research. And unlike other products that just use generic ingredients, which are far less clinical grade, Nugenix Total T gives you the same potency levels used in the trials. So re-energize your life, Blaine, with Nugenix Total T. Text keyword Crain, C-R-A-I-N, to 231-231 for a complimentary bottle. Yeah, that means free, of Nugenix Total T. And if you text now, wait, there's more, Billy Mays style, you'll get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix Thermo. And you want to know what happens then, David? That fat is out of here, mister.
Get it on out of here.
All right?
Total T, baby.
So 231-231, text Crain, C-R-A-I-N. If you haven't seen the movie Heavyweights and don't get that reference, figure it out. Go watch it right now. Some people say it's the prequel to Dodgeball. But before you do that, text keyword Crain, C-R-A-I-N, to 231-231 so you can hit homers like Frank Thomas and throw Hail Marys like Doug Flutie. Booster Club.
All right, couple things here. Let's keep that hashtag Trader Jake going in the chat.
No,
whoa,
Sir Potatoes. Sir Potatoes, $2 donation, brother. I can't see it anymore. I know it's something about replacement cone. I don't know exactly what it was, but how dare you?
Guys,
let's go to Swanee.
Don't turn this into something.
Let's go to Swanee, $5 donation. Best thing about France, they sold us Louisiana for 3 cents an acre.
Yeah, they did.
All right, as of 2023, we probably quadrupled our investment. Hashtag who dat, hashtag go Tigers.
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson said, hey, I'll take that.
Yeah, he's like, by the way, Ben Franklin over there, they loved him when he would sit over there for 8 months. A lot of crazy stuff.
Go to Jimbo Eagle, $10 donation. Thank you, Jimbo. Antonio Brown, who claims to be the owner of my residence in Albany, New York Empire Arena football team, is attempting to sign Cam Newton for $150K. What are the chances or over under 0 of this happening? I'm pretty sure he tried to sign Cam Newton for $150K for one game.
For one game?
For one game, just to throw him a touchdown pass because they never got to do it.
If I'm Cam, one game, I'm doing it.
One game.
Why not?
Look,
now,
I'll play the
with
whole
Antonio Brown, what's going to happen? I'm not nervous about playing or can I throw a touchdown pass. It's what else is it? Because Antonio Brown is slowly turning into a supervillain. If you're watching the origin story of Antonio Brown, I'm getting some real Spider-Man verse situation villain type thing here.
It might turn into one drive. That's what it'll turn into.
Yeah.
The best intentions to play a full game, and it's they played the first drive.
I'm done. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go to Feeling Dangerous 113. He's always feeling dangerous. $10 donation. Hey, what's up, guys? What's up to you? You gave a short motivational speech on day 22 or 24. Straight doesn't work. I got 2 nights left before my 4-day weekend kicks off Thursday at 7 a.m. Could use some help, a little motivational talk to get me going.
All right, do we, I know PJ's on vacay right now, but can we get the motivational music going back there?
Do we have that available?
Do we have that? Can we get that back there?
We got Davies today. Davies.
It's all.
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
What's the name again? Feeling Dangerous?
It's Feeling Dangerous 113.
All right, look.
Here we go.
I just got done telling you the difference between American men and the sense of urgency. One of the reasons we are, despite our best efforts to screw it up, the superpower of the world is because, just like the SEC, it just means more. We want it more. Yeah, we can see the beach through the forest. You know the 4-day weekend's coming. You're on day 22 of 24, just like the boys and Band of Brothers running up Currahee. It's 3 miles up and 3 miles back. You got to dig deep and finish. Don't mail it in the last couple days. Heat could have mailed it in game 1 when they lost to the Bulls in the playing game. But what did they do? They regrouped. They circled the wagons because that's what we do in America. Hashtag Trader Jake. Hashtag you guys are fake. So give me 2 days of grind, 2 days of shine, 2 days of digging deep like you work in a mine. And Feeling Dangerous, that isn't just your name. That's a mindset and a lifestyle. Because there's no weekend like a 4-day weekend.
Wake up!
With Dr. Seuss there on him.
Who's got to carry the boats?
Daddy's home.
Oh, also, when you called in the other day, you said you were talking about the French competitiveness. What did you do on day 1 to test the competitiveness?
Yeah, how'd you compete?
On your honeymoon?
Fought the first guy I saw out of the airport.
Keith?
Just on your honeymoon?
No, not Keith.
Fought him.
Me and Brace Keith. Yeah. No. It's just, I think of competitiveness not just all right, hey, I'm going to go try and score as many points in a basketball game, but I want to go reach the precipice of what I could possibly be, the potential, the want to, the focus, the narrow vision. Like I said, and look, that's how they do things over there. We're more about like being outside, just hanging out, just poems and thoughts and feelings and stuff like that. I could just tell right now, if I watched them shoot a basketball. Hell, I watched like 6 14-year-olds shooting basketball next to a wall that was built in the 9th century, okay? And wasn't really super duper impressed with how hard they were getting after it. So it just, again, the competitiveness is a little bit different, all right? There's a reason they had to call in the boys to come save them when it really went down, and they did.
We're talking basketball. I feel good about our chances.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go to Jack Hogan, $5 donation. Jack, thank you, brother. CWS starts this weekend.
Yes.
Which regional pairing has the biggest upset potential? And he also says Nugs in 5. Bluegill is locked. Come on, Jack.
Yes.
Bluegill. Come on, Jack. Nuggets in 5, baby. Look. Bluegill. The best oysters around. I'll say it to any Frenchman here. Jake. Sucklap, bleh.
By the way, I was hoping somebody would say that, but nobody said that. I was hoping somebody would run in the restaurant and be like, sucklap, bleh. But it just didn't happen. Oh, man, that's a lot to digest there. The tuna dip at Bluegill is fantastic. I don't even remember.
Don't try and come back now with saying American food's great. I'm not. You already dug too.
That's not. You know
You're
what?
Gonna have to write a letter to the.
I stand by my statement. College, looking at the regionals now for college baseball, any of them, I think it's wide open. I think it's absolutely wide open. Now, I know there's some people that are upset that Campbell didn't get to host a regional and Auburn did. Auburn's AD sits at the top of the selection committee in college baseball. I can understand the argument against that, even being an Auburn fan. But I'm telling you right now, I mean, I'll stay in Auburn. Southern Miss going to that Auburn regional. Watch out. But you look at the Southeastern Conference, I think has 8 host sites, which is the most ever, which is insane when you think about it, but it is a wide open field. We all know baseball is, the variables are crazy. You never really know what's going to happen. So I don't think it's really one region, man. I think anybody can go down. We've seen Coastal Carolina win the whole thing. We've seen crazy upsets in college baseball. So next to college basketball, I think it's the most parity we have in sports in general. So I think it's all over the country, and I'm super duper excited for it, which is a great segue. You want to go ahead and get into Top 5 Tuesday?
Yeah, I do, but first off, while you're on college baseball, Vanderbilt beat Florida in football, basketball, and baseball this year for the first time since 1975.
Okay.
Fun fact, baby. Let's go.
That's a good.
You're full of them.
Chock full of them.
Vanderbilt coming
expectations.
Yeah.
Boys. Don't get me started. Expectations.
Okay, so
I wouldn't be surprised.
Florida did get the SEC golf championship, though, which normally you think Vandy would take that. So
look, I wouldn't be surprised if Vandy beat Florida again this year.
Nothing would shock me. I hope Billy turns it around, man. I really do. I think he can. I don't. I know it's just a quick cycle these days, but the roster's better than it was. Year one when you're in the SEC, man, it's different. If you're not still, even if you are Brian Kelly or somebody coming in, but Billy's a young coach, and I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt.
All right, it's Tuesday.
Yes.
Top 5 Tuesday. We're going to do top 5 things you missed from last
ready
week.
For this.
First one. ChatGPT put out the top 10 most overrated college football players of all time, and Tim Tebow was at the top of that list. And your brother over there
overrated.
Defended that. He said Tim Tebow is the most overrated college football player.
Okay. So we're saying college football player, right?
College. I don't know how to stress it enough.
I want you to explain this. I'm going to ask Danny this. I want you to explain to me how the hell Tim Tebow was an overrated college football player.
I thought he was a good quarterback, not a great one. I think everyone around him was phenomenal. I think what he would do now, if he came into the college now, he wouldn't even have as much close to success he did in college. What did Florida do? And you got to think most of his touchdowns, they're from the 5-yard line in. Tim was really the guy who really started running the football. All right, there's a reason he went to the NFL and did nothing at all. There's a reason why we take Vince Young over him right now. I'm taking Danny Warfel over Tim Tebow. I am. I'm taking Danny Warfel over Tim Tebow. His rosters were absolutely loaded to the T. I can go through it. I can go through each of the individuals he had on that team. Tim, look, great guy, class act. Always loved Tim on the field and off the field. But I don't think Tim Tebow was as elite as everybody says he was.
All right, let me ask you this. First off, let's dissect this. Name me a team outside of, I think Cam Newton's the greatest college quarterback I've ever seen in my life. But we're not arguing who's the greatest college quarterback of all time. This is about overrated. Mm-hmm. Name me a college football team that had a bad roster that won a national championship.
I'm not saying bad.
An average roster.
I'm saying a good roster can. I'm saying his rosters he was on were elite teams. All right, it's the Stetson Bennett syndrome. That's what it is. So he's better than Stetson Bennett. I'll give him that. But they were so good around him, and it's not like I'm saying Tim's a bad player.
So you're saying Stetson Bennett's overrated then? If Tim Tebow's better than Stetson Bennett, you're saying he's overrated, then Stetson Bennett has to be overrated, right?
Yes, Stetson Bennett's overrated. Have I not sat here and said that a million times?
I just think it's crazy that a guy that was a walk-on at Georgia who won 2 national championships and 5'9" is overrated. You know who in my personal opinion, when I'm looking at who is overrated, if you want to talk about the roster, maybe it was Urban Meyer a little bit. I could maybe understand that a little bit with the type of character he was recruiting that team. But if you look at what Tim Tebow did, Tim Tebow was the only player I've ever seen drafted earlier than thought based on pure will. Based on pure will to win. Everybody knew Tim Tebow wasn't a great passer. Everybody knew that Tim Tebow wasn't going to be Joe Montana in the NFL, even though I think what he did the Broncos with his ability to throw the ball was impressive. But Tim Tebow, to me, is the consummate definition of an incredible college quarterback. A guy that may not be the best thrower at the quarterback position, but was able to will his team to win. It's one thing to have a great roster around you. It's another thing to be able to control that great roster around you with all those egos, with guys like Aaron Hernandez. I can go through the list of great players that they had. I'm not arguing that. But if you look at Tim Tebow's numbers, if you look at when Tim Tebow did what he did, and when you look at the era of Tim Tebow, I won't argue to say he's the greatest college quarterback of all time, but calling Tim Tebow overrated is just an asinine comment, and you cannot back. If that's the case, then every quarterback that ever had a great roster is overrated, because Tim Tebow's numbers are better than 99.9% of quarterbacks who have won national championships. Who are you taking, Tim Tebow or Johnny Manziel?
Johnny Manziel.
You're taking Johnny Manziel.
100%.
And he brought that up last.
100%, not even close.
I'm
Not even close.
Tebow.
Again, I don't know what impressed you with Tim Tebow throwing at the Denver Broncos. He threw one slant to Demaryius Thomas,
and it was a touchdown.
Who ran for 80 yards.
No,
Two, Stetson Bennett's 5'11", basically almost 6 foot. So I don't know where that came from.
Stetson Bennett's closer to 5'9" than he is 6 foot.
He's 5'11".
No, in the program, I'm telling you, the man, what was he, 5'10"?
Well, he's
5'11". Not 5'9".
But I'm just saying,
closer to 5'9"
you know
than 6
how
foot.
you know he's overrated because we're talking about his will. His will to win. I'm talking about the pedestal this man got put on, like he was the greatest thing to walk on water.
How many touchdowns?
The greatest thing to walk, and I don't
55.
think 55.
Man.
Here.
Man, that's
let
overrated.
Let me get from the 5-yard line, get in the power set,
that's what Cam
and just
Newton
run
did,
downhill.
too.
Yeah.
Cam Newton did a lot more than that, buddy. I promise
And Tim did a lot more than that.
You go watch Cam highlights and watch Tim Tebow highlights, and it's a clear fact to see who's better right there. I promise you that. I'd take Matt Leinart over Tim Tebow.
I just think you have lost your mind.
I don't think I have.
Tebow's overrated.
I just think the robot knows, and I know.
You're the one who said don't trust the robot.
Are you ChatGPT?
Yeah.
That's
I'm
what we're
Chat
getting
GPT
to.
here.
That is what we're getting
I
to.
just
No,
can't.
Here's
what I'll say.
I'm
Danny
a
Kanell, former Florida State quarterback, Danny Kanell is about to come on this show, and I'm going to tell him what
Danny.
you said, and I just want to see his reaction.
What did Luganville say? What did Luganville say?
He said Anthony Richardson's the most overrated quarterback in the
For
history of
sure, but
college
he
football.
said
while we're staying on Florida quarterback.
Tom said he could see it with Tim.
No.
Run it back. Run it back.
He didn't say that.
Yeah, it's on tape.
But
Run it
next
back.
one. Speaking about Tom Luganville, bring up our Crain and Company pick'em, our grid pick'em, please. We need Jake to take one team. So what we did was we put columns together, 5 teams each column. All right. I need you to pick one team from each of these that will end up having the most wins. And then we're going to add up those 5 teams at the end to see who totaled for the most wins.
Yeah, A, by schedule default alone, give me Georgia. I think you'd be crazy not to pick them. B, God, I want to pick Utah, but the Pac-12 is actually good this year.
Come on.
For that A column for on audio, that's Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, the Buckeyes, and Southern California.
Yep, I'm going to go in column B. Let's see, LSU's got Bama on the road. Give me Texas.
Okay, that's
Give me
LSU,
Texas and
Bama,
B.
Clemson, Texas, Utah. You're going to take Texas out of that.
Give me
You're the
Texas.
only one to
I
take
got
Texas so far.
I'm really leaning toward. I haven't made my predictions yet, but I'm leaning toward Texas winning the Big 12. C, Penn State, Oregon, Washington, Notre Dame, and Kansas State. Give me. Oh, this is a good one, guys. This is good. Give me Oregon. Give me Oregon and
Okay.
C. And then D, between Oklahoma, Tennessee, Wisconsin, A&M, and North Carolina. Give me Wisconsin in the Big Ten West. And then in E, got TCU, Auburn, UCLA, Nebraska, and Miami. Give me Auburn.
You're going to take Auburn.
Give me Auburn. TCU lost a ton. Auburn's going to be underrated. They're going to be able to sneak up on some people. UCLA, you lose DTR, you lose Charbonnet. Nebraska, I like Matt Rule. It's going to take a lot longer to turn that Pinto into a Lambo. And then Miami, tough for me to trust you this year. After what I saw last year, I'm a big Mario guy. I hope he does turn it around. I think when Miami and Florida State are good, and I think Florida State's going to be damn good this year, it's good for college football. So I like
it. All
we
right.
need to do a Survivor pool, too.
Yeah, well, let's
We
do
need
it.
to do that. Speaking about Survivor, He looks like he was on an island just doing push-ups and lifting weights for 6 months. Our friend Danny Kanell, you can find him with Dusty and Danny on SiriusXM. You can find him on the Cover 3 pod with our buddy, the human computer, Bud Elliott. But DK, what's up, man?
How we doing? I'm glad somebody noticed the workouts I've been doing to try to keep up with my wife, who's like, she's a fitness freak. Yesterday, I did the Murph, which was pretty cool, Memorial Day Challenge to honor Michael Murphy. So I made it through that. So yeah, everything's good, man. Summer is officially here.
Yes, and which means football season, while it never ends, is right around the corner. And I wanted to talk to you for a second, not about the SEC softball slander. I'm not going to get in that right now. But my brother... And look, you're a Florida State guy. We're all fans of somebody, right? Like, I hate when people are like, oh, well, I'm not a fan of anybody. Well, then that makes you a freak. I mean, nobody's not a fan of anybody. But Danny, this man over here to my right, that did a chat GBT thing while I was up in France repping the American flag, and said that Tim Tebow was the most overrated college quarterback. Not quarterback. You can talk NFL. We can talk about that till the cows come home. I'll agree with you. We'll shake hands across America style. All right? But saying that Tim Tebow was an overrated college quarterback to me is absolutely should get you on the first boat to Shutter Island.
Home, Danny.
That is college football blasphemy. If they're ever like excommunicated, that could get you excommunicated for having any sort of opinion on college football. I do think so. Here's what I do think though with Tebow. And I think this comes up because we did this, when they came out with the list of the top, quarterbacks in the top 20 years. And I had Tebow number 1 over Baker Mayfield, who was one. I think it was Bill Connolly's list. Here's the thing that's really hard with any of these lists. 1, there's a recency bias. 2, I think what's really hard to eliminate is what happened in the NFL. And I think that if you start saying, and you remember how bad it got there towards the end. And I know he had the run in Denver, but then how it kind of fell apart and he had to switch positions and he was just trying to hang on. It's hard to erase that from your brain. But if you go back and plant yourself in the landscape of college football, when he was at Florida and you look at the amount of records that he broke, SEC records that stood for a long, long time that he was able to break and then bring a championship and a half. I don't give him 2 championships. I give him a championship and a half for splitting that one with Chris Leak. But you forget the phenomenon that was Tim Tebow. And I get you could think the overrated was a lot had to do with that attention and having a sports center on Saturday afternoon. That was a Tim Tebow sports center. I get all of that. But if you strip it all away and you look at what he did on the field and what he brought to the Florida Gators in college football, I think he was properly rated for sure.
Yeah. Glorified running back at quarterback. That's what he was.
See, again,
he still played quarterback.
There's nothing that demands you throw the ball, though.
Like at quarterback?
No, as long as you win. Like if he lost every game, you'd be like, why do we have a running back?
That's like That's like saying Eric Crouch sucks. Like it's
Tim
just like
Tebow. Eric wasn't a bad thrower.
Compared to Tim Tebow,
Tim Tebow was not a great thrower at all. And if you put Tim Tebow in any roster slightly below what they had, the absolute Jeff Dips, Patrick Rainey.
Remember though, but he did throw the football and guys were wide open. Like he had Percy Harvin and he had
Dan Mullen's really good.
He had all these weapons, but he still executed those throws. It wasn't like he handed off and he was just running the ball. He still made some big time throws.
Well, yeah, I would say he made some big time throws throughout his career in college. But we're talking about Tim Tebow being the greatest college quarterback.
That's not what we're saying. No, that's where
Danny just said he put him in first.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we're not arguing. I just made this point. We're not arguing is Cam Newton better than Tim Tebow. So I would take Cam Newton over. Cam Newton won a national championship as close to by himself as anybody I've ever seen in college.
I want y'all to know this
But to say he's overrated is asinine.
The guys we had to choose off this list that got brought up. Let me tell you who was on this list, all right? Reggie Bush was on this list. Jadeveon Clowney was on this list. What I saw out of this list were 2 guys that were overrated. All right?
I would take Tim Tebow over Jadeveon Clowney.
Brady Quinn and Tim Tebow. That's who I'm taking.
Brady's all-time leader in passing yards at the most historic college football program of all time.
He went to Notre Dame. He went to Notre Dame, Dan. Sorry, not Michigan.
You taking Matt Leinart or Brady Quinn?
Oh, man. Those are both my guys.
Thank you, Danny. It's not the greatest situation over here.
Isn't Matt Leinart just the left-handed Brady Quinn?
That's a very good point. And if Brady had the weapons that Matt Leinart did, maybe he would have had the national championship and Heisman Trophy one, as well. With all of these lists, because I think it's interesting. You brought up Cam Newton. So, like, what do you value? Is it because I think it's a different conversation if you told me, give me one quarterback for either one game or a second half or a clutch performance. For me, it's Joe Burrow, hands down. 2019 Joe Burrow.
That's not a bad argument.
Cam Newton, just slightly. Cam took over games because of his physical just superiority. Like when he broke open the Superman, it was like he really was Superman and was able to just run dudes over. Burrow, for me, by far, one game. You put him up against anybody. He picks you up from the pocket. He's got his brain. He's got elusivity. He can still run. But I think in these lists that you talk about, greatest of all time or since 2000 or whatever it is, you do have to consider resume. So I didn't have Cam Newton or Joe Burrow as a top option because they only played, in Cam's case, 1 year, in Burrow's case 2, but the first one was so weird and it was a transition year that I didn't include him. So I think you have to look at the total body of work when you do these lists.
Yeah, it is. And again, you brought up the NFL. It's hard to kind of just nail it down to the college career and put yourself back in that moment. But I do want to shift gears for a second here, Danny. The SEC, you look at Greg Sankey coming out and talking about how it's not looking like they're going to go to a 9-game in-conference schedule, basically because of the TV stuff. All right, that's what it's going to come down to, the extra money that the SEC would have to get from ESPN. We know they're going to it eventually. Greg Sankey even alluded to it. My whole thing is I just feel like it's a much better system. Get rid of divisions in the SEC, and that way you have a 9-game in-conference schedule in 2024 when you add Texas and Oklahoma, when the college football playoff expands, when we see even more of this conference expansion. I just feel like you rip the Band-Aid off and do it. I understand TV, money rules the world. Just what are your thoughts on the SEC maybe waiting another year to go to 9-game in-conference schedule?
I totally agree. Unfortunately, college football, and we've seen this impact in the last 5 years, is beholden to the TV, the broadcast networks. We just really are. And it's because they are the driver. They're the ones that are cutting the checks, these massive checks, which are changing the actual landscape of college football, especially when you look about these are just massive earthquake type moves when you see Oklahoma, Texas to the SEC and USC, UCLA to the Big Ten. And who knows what the next one is, because we all know it's coming. It's just a matter of when is it coming. But unfortunately, that's the reality of where we are right now. I think the bigger problem is not only does the SEC need to go to 9 games, everybody does. Everybody needs to go to the same scheduling process. And I don't know how that happens without people getting on the same page. But then you've got all these commissioners who are just looking out for the best interest of their conference. There's no overarching body like the NCAA, which is powerless recently. But we need somebody to come in and say, no, this is what's best for college football. We're all going to go to 9 conference games. We're going to have one of those non-conference games be another Power 5 school, and then you can choose 2 games. And then when we get to the point where we start choosing those top 12 teams, when we get to the expanded playoff, then when we look at resumes, we're actually comparing apples to apples as opposed to apples to oranges, which what we've been doing. When we look at all those criteria that the selection committee comes up with every Tuesday night, it's almost impossible to compare them because they're so different across the board.
Could not agree more.
Danny, there's a lot of hype for the Florida State Seminoles this year, man. First winning season last year in the last 5. Mike Norvell entering year 4. You're going to have Jordan Travis returning at quarterback. But you go on the road to Clemson, they go on the road to Florida, and then the one that everybody's talking about, week 1, FSU, LSU. Right now, do you have Florida State making the college football playoff?
Man. See, now you put me on a spot like that,
Danny.
Right away. So I'm nervous for Florida State. I feel like a nervous Nelly because I've kind of preferred last year the way they kind of flew under the radar and they had this chip on their shoulder and they had to prove to the world that they were going to be competitive again. And I thought the team really embraced that. And it was one of the things that kind of drove them to get back in the conversation. Now, this entire offseason, everyone's picking them to win the ACC. They're picking them to get to the playoff. Here's why. I'll stick with Florida State to make the playoff for a couple of reasons. One, I think the leadership on this team, Jared Verse on the defense side of the ball, Jordan Travis on the offensive side of the ball, and then a laundry list of other players who decided to come back to Florida State to do something special that hasn't been done in recent memory. For a lot of these players, don't remember when Florida State was in the first playoff or when they won a national championship in 2013. They don't remember that. So they want to do something special this time around. So I think the mindset is healthy. Will they be able to block out the noise? The second part is I get Clemson on the road is a absolute, that's going to be one of those games of the year, right? It's going to be physical. Clemson's not going anyway. They got Garrett Riley come, which I think was the best coordinator hire this offseason. But Florida State can lose that game. And I don't like a loser's mentality. I don't like going in thinking you have a mulligan. But the ACC doing away with divisions, if you take care of your business elsewhere, you can go ahead and play Clemson most likely in the ACC championship game, make up for that loss, and still play your way into the playoff. Now, what is the LSU game? Then what implication does that have? Remains to be seen. But I still think if Florida State represented themselves well in the LSU game, won that game, I think it's a slam dunk. Then you could lose one game. I think if they play LSU tight and they happen to lose to Clemson and then beat Clemson in the ACC championship game, even with 2 losses, I think Florida State would be in that conversation of the playoffs. So yeah, I'll pick them to do it. I don't think it's the 2-loss route. I think there's a better chance they're a 1-loss ACC champion that gets into the playoff.
Agreed. And almost everything you just said about Florida State could be said about LSU, flying under the radar last year in Brian Kelly's first year, couple bad seasons in a row under Ed Orgeron. Then they go and win the SEC West. Now everyone's, sort of picking them with their quarterback returning as well. Do you see LSU sort of being able to win the SEC West again, or will Brian Kelly have more struggles in year 2?
Oh, they definitely can. The SEC West, I think, is wide open. I know Bama's going to be the trendy pick, but they have so many question marks. The thing I don't know about LSU, and again, the Florida State LSU game is going to be so much fun. I mean, it's going to have so many implications. I think it could set one of these programs, much like it did last year. Florida State won the game, propelled them into, a solid season, best one they've had in a while. LSU took a little bit to get going. Then they were just fine on the back end. But I think this game could be similar. I still want to see one more year of them, winning the division before I'm ready to just go crown them and say, yep, they're going to play Georgia in the SEC championship game. I still think there's a couple traps in there, and I want to see how Brian Kelly does in year 2, because there's some things you could look at last year. I mean, the Texas A&M game is a great example. Like, how on earth did they lose that game when Texas A&M was as bad as they were? But I could see them similarly having another slip up or two just in the West alone, where they're not quite that dominant team, which I don't think there is one in the West, but I would be cautious on LSU as that, SEC champion pick. And even if they win the West, I still don't think they can beat Georgia.
Yeah, a couple things real quick. What I've started calling that FSU-LSU game is it's the ultimate insurance game for a couple reasons. One, it's the first game of the year. It's really, really early. If you win it, I think it buys you a loss at Clemson to still be able to be a favorite at the end to make the playoff. If you lose that game and you run the table, or even if you get to 2 losses, that's probably going to be a great loss when it comes down to being able to sneak your way in or backdoor your way in. The second thing, and I get it as a fan of a team, expectations, especially if you haven't had them in a while, can kind of make you nervous. But isn't this who FSU really is? Isn't this why you were an FSU fan growing up? Yeah. Because they did get off the plane wearing camouflage. They wanted the expectations. They wanted you to know that they thought they were going to kick your ass. Everybody else thought they were going to kick your ass. And when they showed up, it's FSU. You did fear the spear. There's a reason they said that. So I think this is kind of deep down. And I know Mike Norvell, you always want that chip on your shoulder, right? Kirby Smart manipulated his team to thinking they were going 7-5 last year. I totally get that. But some places, that intimidation factor, I think, is just different. And there's something about Florida State. And when Chief Osceola is running on that field and planting that fiery spear down in the middle, that just hits different. Florida State is one of those schools that when they're cooking and they're right and they got the right mindset, when they go into the Lions' den, the Lions get nervous. So I kind of feel like this may be a little bit of who FSU really is, Danny. I'm not trying to tell you, you know who FSU is way more than me, but I don't know. That's just how I feel from the outside looking in at Florida State.
So I'll tell you what makes me nervous. And I think even if this was all right, take off my Florida State glasses and colors and say, all right, let's look at that from an objective point. If you were trying to look for flaws in Florida State, because you're right, this is a problem. I was a part of the dynasty that was there for 14 years when we never finished outside the top 4. Like we were always in the conversation at the end of the season. So if you go back and you dig into the schedule last year, they lost to the three best teams they played last year. Clemson, NC State, and Wake, 3 in a row. They played down to some of the Florida on Black Friday had Florida State on the ropes, and Florida State got out with a win on that game. Late in the game, had the defensive stop to win that game. And then the bowl game against a 6-6 Oklahoma team, Oklahoma had a lead early in that game, and Florida State needed to come back. Now, the good news is the Florida State of 3 or 4 years ago would have found ways to lose those games. They would have been 5 losses instead of 3. The good news is they figured out how to win that. But I do wonder just how good this team is from a roster standpoint to still hold up against the likes of Clemson. Now, they've done an outstanding job once again going to get the transfer portal, offensive line help, defensive tackle help. But I really think the Keon Coleman signing at wide receiver could be what puts this offense just over the top, where even if their defense gives up some points against a team like Clemson, NC State, who's going to be throwing around this year, their offense should be able to go toe-to-toe with anybody. And I love Jordan Travis. I love his skill set. I love the intangibles. So that's where I'm just going to go ahead and say, you know what? There might have been some flaws last year, but they're going to be better this year, top to bottom.
Jaheim Bell was the signing I'm looking at. That dude can do. He's a Swiss Army knife, and I was shocked he left South Carolina. Don't be shocked. I'm going to see how many times I can say shocked if he goes nuts this year.
I'm shocked. Danny, one thing I'm not shocked about, but I'm going to forgive you for the mean things you said to me today because I love you. But second of all, you didn't have to flex your golf clubs on us, man. What are those Callaways? What are you out there shooting 80 on a bad day?
He's a quarterback,
I play way too much golf. My guys at Callaway, they do help me out every once in a while with some new clubs. So, I got a prop. Those are just the secondary set. But if there's anything that you know about my golf club, if you look like for a closer inspection, there's about 6 putters in that bag. Because that's my nemesis, the putting game. And it's never my fault. It's the putter's fault. So I just rotate through putters.
You are a golfer.
That's the thing about me about golf. The closer I get to the hole, the worse I get. Texas Ed wants to know, who do you think will go to a bowl game first? Vanderbilt or Colorado?
Colorado. The road to get there for Vanderbilt, just going through the SEC is just so problematic, especially for and I love Clark Lee. My guy Barton Simmons is on the staff as their general manager. I just think they've got so much gap to make up. Who knows where Colorado's going to be, right? Whether they stay in the Pac-12 or they go to the Big 12. It's just an easier road to get there. And you don't have the academic restrictions that you have at Vanderbilt. You don't have the transfer restrictions that you have at Vanderbilt. You've got an NIL program that feels like it's kind of on the up and up, and there's people investing in the program. So I do think Deion will get Colorado to a bowl game. Not this year. I think next year is the realistic year to look for Colorado to make that big jump.
All right, we got a question here for Bradley Cogdill. Danny, who's going to be the most overrated team this season?
Say it,
man. I used to have a field day with Tennessee fans because every year they come in, they're like, "This is our year," and then they totally collapse. But I do like Heupel. I do wonder if Joe Milton, because they had such outstanding quarterback play in Hendon Hooker. I mean, he had 58 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions in 2 years. Like, that is insane. If Joe Milton is good, I think they'll be back there. When I say I'm trying to think overrated because that's mean. I don't think Tennessee is going to be as good as they were last year. I still think they're going to be good. I'll say, man, this is a good question. I'm trying to think. You guys gave me LSU early. All right. I'll say Texas.
I knew it.
Texas. But here's why. The expectation for Texas this year is to win the Big 12. And if it's not this year, when the heck is it? Because Oklahoma's coming off a 500 year. TCU lost a lot. I mean, TCU won a Big 12 or played in the playoff. They didn't win the Big 12. I hear that. They played in the playoff before Texas did. I mean, how bad would that irk you if you were a Longhorn? But now you've got this conference, which is wide open. But when was the last time they lived up to expectations? So until I see it, I'm going to keep fading Texas because that's who they are over the last 10 to 15 years. is they never meet those expectations. So I'll say Texas.
Definitely. Well, Danny, you always meet our expectations when you come on, my friend. We know you're a busy guy. We're obviously going to get you back as college football season gets closer. It never really leaves, especially with the transfer portal now basically being year-round. But whether it's on SiriusXM, whether it's the Cover 3 pod, tell everybody else, too, on social media where they can find you, my friend.
Pretty much anywhere. I mean, I got mouths to feed. SiriusXM is probably the best spot. Cover 3 pod, CBS Sports HQ.
Yep.
Anywhere that'll cut me a check so I can pay for these 3 girls. You know what it's like, Jake. You just got married. Those weddings aren't cheap.
No,
and I got 3 of them to pay for down the road. Hopefully.
Oh goodness,
that
Danny.
in college, man, I just got to start saving.
Yeah, that's with my luck, I'll end up with 5 girls. That's 100%. You can start, man. I mean, those Callaways, probably all 6 putters. They probably go for a decent amount. But Danny, it's always great, man. Always enjoy chopping it up with you.
Thanks, fellas. Have a great summer. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it, Danny.
All right, buddy.
Yeah,
See ya. Danny Kanell, one of the best in the business.
A pro, man.
A lot of clippable stuff out of there.
Pro.
Dude,
I just don't trust Joe Milton.
We've had
I'm
so
sorry.
Eric Sally.
Tom Luginbill.
Tom Luginbill
came on.
The Beretta?
We've got
to
to do something to make it up to Tennessee fans.
No,
we have to get the most pro Tennessee guy.
We tell the truth here, all right? If I wanted to make everybody happy, what would I do, Blaine?
I'd sell ice cream.
I'd sell ice cream, all right? I gassed up Hendon Hooker in Tennessee last year. Worked out for me.
You know
that
what?
doesn't mean...
It's not even us, David. We're not even right.
That is true.
Now
Now
people we're getting on.
No, I don't trust Joe
There's only
Milton.
one way. We have to get Peyton Manning on now.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
You're right.
Look, but let's be honest. Do you trust Joe Milton?
No. And I'm the one. No. Hold on. I feel like I'm the one that started it with Tom Luginbill because in that column, he picked Tennessee, and then I just followed up with a simple question. I said, oh, you trust Joe Milton? Because I saw him play at Michigan before he transferred in. And he goes, oh, you're right. I want to switch my pick. And Tennessee are the biggest.
Guys, he can
crybabies
throw
ever.
really far and do backflips. What do you mean?
No, well, again, I'm not saying Joe Milton can't do it. I'm not saying that Joe Milton can't figure it out. I think he's got his body right. It looks better. Maybe that year behind Hendon Hooker really helped him. He's coming in from Michigan. But until I can see it with my own eyes, and remember, you got that 5-star superstar freshman quarterback. You better do well early. It better look good early because the first time he overthrows somebody by 25 yards, you're going to start hearing it. You're going to start. The touch. I don't know if the dude can throw the off speed. I know he can throw the fastball. He could throw it from here to France. All right. But that's not what playing quarterback position is. That's not what pitching is in baseball. It is the art of passing, not just a thrower, the art of passing, the art of pitching. There's some nuance. What does Adonis Creed say in Creed 3? Yes, I did watch that in the plane or I wouldn't have watched it at all. Everybody thinks boxing is about violence. No, it's about timing and focus.
Touche, like fencing.
Yes.
One thing for Tennessee fans, Joe Milton was named the starter that first year that he and Hendon Hooker both transferred
and then
in.
what happened?
I know, but you could at least say, okay, Josh Heupel saw enough in this guy that he thought he was comparable with Hendon Hooker at the beginning. Now, Hendon Hooker went in, never relinquished the spot, and ended up being one of the better quarterbacks in college football. So
without a doubt. I thought he would have got an invite to the Heisman if he didn't get hurt.
Joe Milton has the tools. Let's see, what has he done with them under Josh Heupel and Hendon Hooker over the past 18 months?
Joe Milton has practice hero written all over him.
I get it.
All over him. Let's go to Brian Hall, $5 donation. Brian, thank you, sir. Jake hyping up France so much. Next, we'll be a fan of that French player on the Lakers.
Yeah.
LeBron.
No, guys, I just said they do 2 things well. In a country that is old as old gets, I said they do 2 things well. Football and style or fashion. I don't really understand it, but apparently they do.
Football?
Apparently.
Football?
Food. They're not bad in soccer, by the way, PSG.
Football.
Soccer.
With a U.
Food and fashion. That's the 2 things they do well. Everything else, all right, I'm taking us.
Have you never been to Maryland? You know what they're about?
Yeah, okay.
They're about crab cakes and football.
Yeah, maybe they can finish top 3 in the conference for the first time in 30 years this year.
Feeling dangerous? Oh,
They won the Big Ten baseball, right?
Yeah.
I believe they did. I'm talking about American football.
Yeah. Feeling dangerous, 113, $2 donation. He says, thanks, man. I have the ammo I need to get through.
Yeah. You record that. You wake up to that every morning.
He's going to carry the boats. Jared Grubbs, $5 donation. Blaine, did you make it to the Indy 500? I didn't. I was there, and it was freaking awesome. I'm jelly. Also, did you see the tire fly over the crowd? I did see the tire fly over the crowd. I wasn't there, which is disappointing. I had some family stuff I had to take care of. But I was wondering, because it smashed a car. All right, did y'all watch any of the Indy? So the one car spun out, and the next car came by, and it clipped one of the tires when the tire flew off.
Oh, gee.
Went over the fence, came like this far from hitting somebody, bounced, and went and destroyed a car. If you're a fan, all right, and then I was talking about this with one of our audio guys, and if that hits you,
you're dead.
Can you sue?
No, you're
no. I'm talking
your family can.
No,
and if you have the epic will,
you can. And you put an arm out, a wrist out. All right, everything's shattered.
No.
Can you sue?
It'll knock it off.
Okay,
like it's not everything shattered.
A robot arm. Will Smith.
There goes your arm. What does he say? Like, oh boy, it's Diamond Dave's ninja school.
Yeah,
you know,
Diamond
you can't
Dave,
you can't go with Judy chopping in a kung fu.
I'm just saying, if that does hit you, can you? I mean.
I don't know. I think maybe
Alexander Shinar in this thing. Look up. It's 30 billboards.
People not in the South do not understand the Alexander Shinar reference, but if you are in the South,
he runs the South.
You are laughing right now because you've probably seen a billboard.
Let's go to Charles Dossett, $10 donation. What's my alma mater? They are triple winner of NCAA football championship. They have 3 Heisman Trophy winners. They played the Yankees 22 times, losing to Murderers Row 8-2 in 1927.
Wait, what?
I'll go through this because I read that way too fast. Charles Dossett, $10 donation.
Yes.
What's my alma mater?
Okay.
They're a triple winner of NCAA football championship.
3 in a row?
The triple means what?
3, but that's
3 consecutive?
3 consecutive? That's.
I'm just reading what they put in the prompter.
Okay.
Okay, guys?
Minnesota.
No one knows the answer to
All right, keep going.
They have 3 Heisman Trophy winners. They played the Yankees 22 times, losing to Murderers Row 8-2 in 1927. I don't know how.
I don't know what that means. I'm going to go Minnesota.
Okay, I think you are probably.
I'm going to say they played the Yankees and they won the national championship in college football 3 times.
Don't know.
I'm going to say your alma mater is.
Charles, put your alma mater in here.
Let's go. I don't know. USC. There you go. How about that? We'll see if that. Or Notre Dame. Maybe it's Notre Dame. One of the two. All right, bets coming down to the end of the month. Now, remember, this month we started our own booster club where you can make your bets and you track them like ours. You have to have at least 20 bets. The winner will get a Hall of Fame shirt sent to them and possibly something else along with it. It's coming down. Looks like 3 people at the end. Make sure you go to Crain _ and get your bets in. Or if you're waiting till next month, that's totally fine because it's the 30th. But guys, we got some bets we have to make up. All right. But it's kind of tight here at the top. All right. Ace Cone doing his thing once again. But I'm the only one in positive units right now, and I'm trying to finish strong. Shout out to Feeling Dangerous. So there's nothing else to bet, really, outside of Major League Baseball today. That's pretty much it. No NHL because the finals are set. No NBA because the finals are set. College baseball regionals don't start until Friday. So here's what I'm taking tonight. Give me the White Sox money line and the Astros plus 1.5. Parlay that. That is plus 177. It would be so delicious if this one would hit. And then Kyle Hendricks. Look, I'm believing. All right, I'm believing. I know McClanahan's on the mound. I know everybody else in here picked the Rays to, win by 9 runs and McClanahan to win. But I'm going with the Cubbies. All right, because I flew into O'Hare Airport yesterday, looking at the signs. We just got kind of a Chicago vibe. So I'm going Cubs money line at plus 155. We hit both of these tonight. We can play it safe tomorrow and try and cruise, like Dylan.
You gonna play it safe tomorrow?
If
not a good strategy. You go first because I like your Rays pick.
Okay, this is what I'm taking. Give me Braves money line. Beat the A's. Grow up. Dodgers money line. We're better than most people. All right, then give me the Rays minus 1.5. Stroman, you're going to come out and throw 1 hitter. What usually happens in the next games? You get killed. All right, so give me the Rays minus 1. That's a parlay. That's plus 260. Then give me a little nerfy train. Give me Yankees, Seattle, Cortez, Gilbert on the mound, nerfy minus 130.
Logan, on my fantasy
30.
Hey, I like your Rays pick. I'm going to take Shane McClanahan to get the win in that game. He's at 8-0. So, yeah, I like him to get the win, and that's plus 100. And then the Braves, you lost to the A's last night. The only way to make that up is you just destroy them today. I'm going to take the Braves minus 3.5 runs, plus 150.
I do want to say it was great seeing Mike Soroka back on the mound yesterday for the Braves, back after another injury, which means he'll be pitching for another 3 weeks and then get hurt. So it was great to see him. I know it wasn't his best performance, but he did go 6 innings. He gets back healthy. Max Fried gets back healthy, and then will let me down in game 1 of the playoffs. in whatever series they play. But the Braves, 32-22, you can't lose to the A's, which is basically little giants, okay? They're like 11-45. Figure it out. Look left, look right, look up, look down. Welcome to it. So, Ace Cone, explain this one, David. What he's got a lot of bets to make up.
Yes, all right? They said he has 13 bets to make up, and he has to take 2 picks today. There's 15 baseball games going on. So he said he wants the Nerfy in every single game.
In every single game.
And we'll let the guys calculate the odds.
Have fun, Cody.
Yeah, no, look, Cody, the human calculator.
He already knows them.
3 minutes.
He just did it in his head.
He knows. He's like, he's Dr. Stranging the whole thing right now. All right, back to the Booster Club.
Let's go to, first we're going to get to Michael Gillette. Can I get a shout out to my son, Ethan, who leveled up to 13. Boss battles are squeaky voices and girls. Well, he wants to be an engineer and play in the MLB. Any advice to an athlete, LTD money?
Ethan, here's what I will say. Stretch. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Flexibility is the most underrated. If I could go back in time, I would stretch every single night and listen to your parents. And remember, when it comes to hitting, your hands are always faster than what you think they are. That's another great piece of advice. Keep grinding and make good grades, because guess what? Sports ends for everybody at some point, but they can never take that degree away from you. All right?
Ethan, first of all, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, too. Level up day.
Bud. 2, go have some fun. All right, go have some fun. If you get out, wait till we get back to the house.
That's fine.
All right, let's go to Charles Dossett, $10 donation. Their 1912 starting running back and linebacker will become a future president of the United States. So it is
It's
Michigan.
Army.
Our Army graduates of his option have received 83 Medal of Honors.
Okay.
Graduates of his option have received 83 Medal of Honors. I'm pretty sure it's Minnesota, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
Put the answer in there, Charles. We run out of time.
All right.
Poll.
Poll.
All right. Which series will be closer? Knights, Panthers, Nuggets, Heat.
Knights, Panthers.
Yeah. What percentage you put into that?
60%.
I'm going to say Knights, Panthers, 61%. Not that I believe that, but.
Wow. Will the series be closer? Nuggets, Heat, 39%. Knights, Panthers, 61%.
Whoa.
All over it.
Targeted in. Landed
Literally
in.
right when you said yours, it was 60-40, then someone voted.
Good. Whoever did. Thanks, Keith.
Yeah, there's Keith.
Appreciate you. All right. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. It's Army.
Yep.
That
Army.
Gotcha. One of the best institutions there is. We appreciate you guys. Glad to be back in the studio, killing these hooks like Rufio. You know how it goes down. Make sure, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave us a review. Check out everything on the Daily Wire Plus. Very excited for the rest of a big week as we get down to the finals in NHL and college football, NHL and NBA, while college football is right around the corner. Guys, it was a lot of fun. Glad to be back.
Welcome back, dude.
Love America. All
yeah,
right, absolutely.
Look in the camera and say that.
I love America.
Okay, good. Don't smile when you say it.
I'm smiling out of love.
Seems like you're held hostage or something.
Yeah.
No.
You got a note in your shoe or something? You're going to go pick something up under a bench?
Stop.
Yeah, check you for
I love America.
Where's the drop at?
I love America.
Where's the drop at?
Secret little spy chip.
Where's the
Anyways,
drop at?
and just like the chances of me being a traitor, we're gone.